Hey, She Army. Welcome to episode 42 of the Simply She podcast. This is the road to financial freedom. I'm your
Yes.
host, Crystal Renee, and today we're going to be discussing all things travel and wealth building related. So, really quickly, just a reminder we are going live via StreamYard, and also we're live. So, there's no pause, there's no rewind, and we are unfiltered. So, we definitely appreciate your participation. So, make sure if you have questions or comments, go ahead and pop those right in the chat. Also, because we're using StreamYard and you're on Facebook, you're doing this on Facebook, you have to allow StreamYard access to be able to leave comments under your name. We want to be able to see who you are. If not, you can still leave comments, but we just won't be able to see who you are. So that being said, those are the house rules, and we are going to get right into it. So prior to COVID, I was an avid traveler, taking at least 3 to 4 trips per year, but definitely nothing like my guest this evening. Travel for me has always been an escape, like a way to de-stress, see new parts of the world, experience different cultures, maybe a way to visit countries that I've grown to like or love and fell in love
Yeah.
with. So the freedom to travel where you want is definitely tied to your finances and being able to feel secure that you're not going to go broke every single time you want to travel, right? Because traveling broke is no fun. I remember the days of trying to do things back in college, and it was always a struggle. Man, the struggle was real back then. My friends and I trying to put together our dollars from work study and campus jobs just to go 3 hours away. It was a true struggle. But my guest this evening, Cinneah, has a system that is going to help us pay down our debt, get our credit in check, and then give us that ability to travel and also build wealth, guys. So let me tell you who she is. Cinneah El Amin is the creator and voice behind Finance.com, a millennial debt free travel and financial freedom blog. Since traveling to 27 countries and counting, she created Finance to inspire others to fly financially free, which means seeing more of the world with less financial worry. Cinneah is an expert in the consumer credit industry, having spent her career working for top credit card companies in product management and product development. In her business, Cinneah teaches people how to pay down debt quickly and build wealth. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Crystal. Hi, everyone. Hi, She Army. So excited to be here.
Yes. So just quickly tell us how you got started with your blog.
Yes. So finance was really birthed out of me honestly being asked the same question over and over again. How do you afford to travel? How can I travel? I feel like I'd seen this advice somewhere that you should start a blog or start um, a platform around the question that you kind of get asked the most, right? What do people come to you the most for advice on? And I felt like this was consistently, I was being asked this by close friends, family, associates. Anytime I put up a post on my personal Instagram that I was traveling somewhere, it would be inevitable that I would get someone reaching out to me asking, like, how can I do that? Right. And at the same time, I felt that not enough of us were talking about wealth building. We're talking about how we can use the information and resources available to us to really create generational wealth, right? How we can really be the first generation, especially within the Black community, to leave our children and our grandchildren with more options than we were given. So I really saw an opportunity to bring both of those conversations together, right? Talking about travel, but then also talking about even travel as a vehicle to build wealth. So finance is really built out of those things. And even in 2020, finance has been so much of me literally just documenting my own journey to become debt free. I kicked off January with over $23,000 in debt and was just kind of like, I'm just going to talk about it here, right? I'm just gonna kind of show people how I'm thinking about paying off debt and traveling alongside that journey. And I'm so blessed to say that, yeah, I'm a month away from becoming completely debt free. At the end of this month, I'll be student loan debt free. So I hope that anyone who follows me on Instagram at fly.nance really sees that this is a journey that any of us can do. so long as we have the knowledge, the resources, and the support from others, we can do incredible things. So thanks so much for having me, Crystal.
You're so welcome. I'm like so curious to hear about how you did all that. So we're gonna get into that in just a little bit.
Yes.
But quick, tell us really quickly, what are some of the places you've been and what's your favorite?
Oof. So I just realized, honestly, when you were reading my bio, that I've actually seen another country since I sent that to you. So yeah, I mean, I've been to over 28 countries. Actually, just doing the math, I've been to 15 countries even in the past 4 years. So again, if you follow me on Instagram, I threw up a reel of some of the places that I've been, but wow, I've been to some incredible places even in the past couple of years. Japan is definitely up there. I spent about a week and a half in Tokyo and Kyoto, and that was incredible. Even going across Europe and being in Italy for the first time, I will always have a special place in my heart for Florence. It's such a beautiful city, beautiful
It is.
architecture, and okay, I know I'm mostly talking to Black women. They love us out there. Okay, in the south of Italy, Black women are mwah, okay, chef's kiss. All right. Um, I mean, we unfiltered, right? We unfiltered on Simply She tonight.
Yes, yes.
So I feel like it's hard to say. I feel like I've truly had some amazing travel experiences. Spending New Year's Eve in Bali was definitely a highlight. So it's hard for me to kind of just pick one or two. I feel like I've had so many amazing experiences in every place that I've been. So yeah, I feel like those have been some of the highlights. But every trip is a good one.
Yeah, I definitely. So Japan, I've never been to Asia. So
Okay.
this might sound strange, and y'all don't judge me for this. So I really just want to go to Japan to have the train riding experience. Have you did you ride the train
The bullet train?
like during rush hour with all those people on it?
Oh,
Not to
yes,
say,
okay.
so I'm not. I don't want to necessarily. I just want to witness that. Like I've seen them push people on the train, and I was just like, I've been pushed on the train in DC, so I don't know. I was like, and it was extremely uncomfortable at the
Mhm.
Roslyn Metro station. Yes, y'all. I got like bullied and pushed on the train and then off the train. Actually, I fell
Oh
onto the
my gosh.
platform. It
Oh
was
my gosh.
terrible. Rush hour. Yes, I know I'm short. I'm short, but it was a whole experience. But I was like,
Adorable.
I'm actually kind of fascinated with like different like metro subway. Like I've ridden the El Metro in Spain, so I kind of
Mhm.
like to go to different cities that they have a metro and just ride it just to see what it's like.
Yeah.
I'm weird, y'all. Don't judge me, but I
No,
do
that's
want
not weird.
to. I do want to go to Japan just to like maybe just see, maybe not experience being pushed on the train, but just see the train.
Yes.
Maybe not during rush hour. That was one of the things. And I second Italy. I definitely want to get back there. Florence is beautiful. It's so
Beautiful.
beautiful, and they have this awesome market if you go in the spring.
Mhm.
That you can get like a lot of things on discount, like leather and shoes, and just so I forget the name of it, but because
Check
I
out
have
the market.
check out that market. It's usually I think it usually opens in April and it goes through the summer. I think maybe is I think it closes in September, like when it starts to get cold, I believe. But if y'all know the name of it, drop it in the comments because I think everybody should go to that market.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. So what are you most passionate about when it comes to travel, or how did you find your passion for travel?
So I will say that I developed a passion for travel really early on in my life. Was really blessed to have family who took me on vacations even as a little girl. So I feel like I've always kind of had this travel bug, this wanderlust. Um, and even, I think it really exploded though when I went to college and just really saw that, hey, I could create a career around this. I could build a business around this, right? That was when I really started seeing, like, wow, travel could become a permanent part of my life, not just something kind of like what you talked about, Crystal, not just something that I used to escape my life, but really making it a part of my everyday life. So I'm really passionate in travel and demystifying this idea that you have to be wealthy to travel, that you have to have tons of money to travel. I really want to show through finance that everyday people can travel, that more Black women should be traveling. And that doesn't have to be something that like we talked about, doesn't have to drain our wallets. It can be a smart financial decision. So I'm really passionate about showing folks the different tips, tricks, and strategies that I've used to be able to travel often for the low. And really excited because I just released a new travel course that's super affordable that really walks you through my system of how you can not only start saving for travel consistently, but then using those funds to really save a ton of money when it comes to actually finding those flight deals, finding those places to stay, finding those things to do, and some ways to avoid losing money so that your travel funds can go even further. So I'm really passionate about that piece, about really showing that you don't have to make a lot of money to travel. Maybe you're not going to travel as often as a true travel junkie like me. But this idea that, oh, because I have bills, oh, I have debt, oh, I have this, that shouldn't keep you from exploring this world that is your home.
Awesome. So can you give us some of those tips? Like, what's like maybe like one or two that we should be thinking about when we're trying to travel um, on a budget?
Yes, absolutely. Let's start with like the first tip that I go through in the course. It is creating a travel fund. So if you haven't heard about a travel fund, it is essentially a separate online checkings account that you'll use specifically for your travel expenditures. So this was something that was a game changer for me as someone who historically was an overspender, lived off of credit cards, and really just didn't, I would get paid and then I would not know where all my money went. But when I created a travel fund, this separate account that I was specifically kind of putting my energy in saying, this is only going to be used for travel, I was able to totally, change my whole mindset around savings. I was somebody who used to never feel like I could save, like, I'm not a saver, I'm a spender. But when with this travel fund, it really encouraged me in a way that I'd never been encouraged before. And by just saving consistently is how you're able to, take advantage of flight deals when they come up. It's how you're able to, when your homegirl reaches out to you and says, hey girl, we want to go to Tulum in a couple of months. Are you down? Not feeling that anxiety around, well, where's this money going to come from? Because it's a part of your everyday savings. So, an account that I love to recommend is the Charles Schwab high yield checking account. It is an awesome account for your travel fund because there are no ATM fees and no foreign transaction fees. It's a totally free account, no account minimums, no account fees, and it's all online. So you don't even have to ever deal with an in person bank. And what I do is I just save a portion of every paycheck, every bit of income into that account, right? For me, I'm pretty much saving aggressively for travel because similar to what Crystal said, I love to travel at least 3 to 4 times a year. So that might look different for you, but even just starting that process of saying, all right, I'm going to automate this and say $100 a month is going to come out of my paycheck and go into this travel fund is a great way to get started because then when you have that money available is when you have options. And when you have options, that's when you can do the things that you want to do without feeling the fears and anxieties and that worry that I think that keeps many of us from traveling. So my number one tip is start that travel fund, sis, and let's get started on your 2021 travel goals.
Yeah, I'm actually dropping the checking account you said Charles Schwab high yield checking account.
Yes.
Okay, I'm dropping that in the comments, guys. So
Hmm.
in case you're watching this later and you have no idea what this is about, you're going to rewind
Yes.
this episode and you're going to watch from the top so that you know what it is. But I'm dropping that in the comments. That's a great tip. And also just saving every paycheck towards travel, I think is
Hmm.
awesome. I do the same thing with other things like with like repairs and things like
Yep.
that. I have different accounts. I just put money in because I have like a certain amount that I put. It's not like a huge amount of money, but it definitely
Exactly.
helps because one time my water heater in my house busted and it was like, whoo, it was like $1,500, and I was just
Yeah.
like, you know what?
Hmm.
I'm not worried at all, right? I
Hmm.
can just go and because I didn't have my home warranty, so but I wasn't worried. Of course, after that, I got one. But I wasn't worried because I had the funds to be able to make that repair, and didn't
Mhm.
stress me out. So I definitely support that.
Yes.
Yes. So switching gears just a little bit,
Okay.
what are some misconceptions you feel are out there when it comes to building credit? Because I'm sure that building credit is a large part of this
Mhm.
piece.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions around, um, building credit is that, it's difficult, or that it's, this kind of like minefield that, like, oh, it's just this black box that, like, I don't know what happens, and then I'm just given a credit score, right? No, there's actually a very methodical, systematic way to building credit, and that it doesn't have to be this thing that, like, oh, I have no idea what happens, and I'm just given this arbitrary number, right? So I think understanding what are the pieces of building a credit score is such a great place to start, in terms of whether you are new to credit and you want to build that score, or whether you are someone who's had a credit score and maybe made mistakes in the past, and want to rebuild that credit score. Really understanding, like, what are the pieces that these bureaus are looking for, that then indicates what your credit score is going to be. So, one of the biggest bulk that makes up your credit score, and building good credit, comes from on time payment history. So that is literally, like, if you have balances that are getting reported to your credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, etc., that you're paying on time. And a great tip that I learned this year that I love to pass on to people is that when we think about credit cards in particular, the date that is given to you in terms of your payment due date, if you pay by that date, yes, you are paying on time, but you are not actually paying on time as it is reported to your credit bureaus. So if you want to see your credit score boost, here's a tip for you. You need to pay your balance by your statement closing date. So your
Mm.
statement closing date is a date on your credit card statement when it is actually, the balance is going to be recorded in time and actually reported out to those bureaus. So, for example, say you have a $350 balance on one of your credit cards and your statement closes on November 27th. If you wait until the payment due date of December 12th or whatever, you'll still technically be on time. But what will have been reported was that you had a balance of $350 when that statement closed. So, a great way to boost your credit score, is to literally just start paying by that statement closing date. And you know the statement closing date because it'll tell you as soon as you log on to your credit card, it'll tell you statement closing by. It'll tell you if you get your statement in the mail what the date is. So this is a great tip to just kind of start really seeing more measurable changes, even if you feel like you're someone who pays on time. If you want to even take it a step further, start paying by your statement closing date. And that will really make a difference in terms of your score, because the amounts that you're paying will actually be recorded and reported in the month that you're paying them. Crystal, did you want to say, you wanted to chime in something?
Yeah, I was like that makes a lot of sense to me. And as you were talking and thinking about it, as you were talking, I was thinking about it because, guys, if you think about the way that even like say at your job or any business, they have closing dates for financial reporting purposes. So this
Hmm.
makes complete sense that the credit bureau, like like for example, let's use like think about in terms of your job and your finance department is like, give me those invoices by the 28th because we're closing the books. The credit bureaus are doing the same exact thing
Yeah.
where they're taking that information that they've received from, let's say, what the 28th to the 28th. That's what they use as their reporting period. So when you pay it, it's going to be on the next reporting period, like if you're paying on time. So that's 2 months later
Yeah.
versus 30 days later. That's great.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
Gems dropped. Like, yes, okay, that makes complete sense. I didn't know that. So guess what I'm going to be doing? Looking at all
Okay.
payment closing dates
Yes.
and realigning everything
Mhm.
that I have. So,
Mhm.
guys, huge gem because I was a person who had to build my credit from like 400 up until like 7 to be able to, well, 6, what,
Yes.
626, whatever the house, to get your house, I think it's 640. So
Mhm.
I had a long way to go.
Mhm.
And I had to pay down like all of my debt. I had to, there were some balances I had to negotiate, but that was one of the things I had to get used to paying my bills on time. And,
Yes.
the balances that I had, paying down, paying, rebuilding, which I'm going to let you talk about because I want to hear what you have to say because I'm pretty sure you have some nuggets that I don't even have. But guys, this really, really, really makes sense
Hmm.
because it'll help you have your score go up quicker, which is what we
Yep.
all want, right? So you have a goal to purchase something or to go someplace, right? So definitely pay attention, guys. I dropped it in the I dropped it in the comments for y'all.
Yes, I see that. Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, and I think another misconception is just around like, what is the goal we're all kind of striving for, right? I think a lot of us think, oh, an 800 plus credit score is what I should be working towards. And I think that's a big misconception because really having a high credit score in the 700s is about the same as having an 800 credit score. So I'll say that again. Having about a 740 credit score is about the same as having an 800 credit score. Even in some cases, having a 730 credit score is about the same as having an 800 credit score. And what I mean by that is at that point you have shown that you can manage credit efficiently to get as good of an offer as someone who has an 800 850 credit score, right? So I think this idea that we're all kind of chasing this 800 credit score is also a myth, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of that in terms of having that 800 credit score really comes from something that is further down the list in terms of what makes up your credit score, and that's actually your credit age. So if you're someone who is in their mid 20s and you built credit from scratch for yourself, right? Maybe you are not someone who was ever an authorized user on a parent or a guardian's account when you were younger, it's going to take you time to build up at least even 10 years of credit history. So I think that that is always something that's a big misconception that we are chasing this 800 number, but realistically having shooting for a credit score in the high 700s is I think something we should all be working for, because I see people kind of getting so like frustrated when they're not getting to that 800 credit score, not understanding that like actually you already have excellent credit. So I think that's another big misconception to kind of debunk.
Okay, perfect. So where should people kind of start when they're on their credit rebuilding journey? What's a good place to start? What are some steps they can take?
Yeah, so I want to first say that you do not have to pay a credit repair specialist or company to rebuild your credit.
That part.
I'm gonna say that again. I know people make money off of conning people into that, and apology I said what I said. If somebody's out here who makes money off of credit repair, like, I'm not gonna knock your hustle, but, like, I mean, you're doing things for people that they could do for themselves. So, I think the very first step is, of course, getting your credit report. Do you know what is on your credit report? If you're rebuilding your credit, are all of the inquiries and the marks that are on your credit report actually accurate? Because that's a great place to start, right? When you pay somebody from a credit repair company, you're essentially paying them to send a letter to the agency or bureau to say, hey, take this off of this person's credit card report. But actually, you can do that yourself. So I think the very first step is, getting your free credit report and really looking at it and seeing, okay, like, yes, all of these accounts are mine. There's nothing on there that, like, I absolutely know I did not open up that should not be in there. There's not no derogatory mark that I know I have evidence to prove that that is not true, right? That's absolutely where you start. And then from there, if there are things that you want to remediate, right? Like you want to challenge certain marks or derogatory marks on your credit report, actually getting those templates where you can literally Google templates. Have people have put this information out for free out online. Google the templates to kind of to print out and mail to your bureau to say, I would like this mark removed from my credit report, right? I want to say that bureaus have about 45 days
Mhm.
to respond to you and either kind of say yes, okay, we will do this. But if you actually don't hear from them in terms of getting that removed, like they have to remove it from your account, right? If they do not engage with you in terms of your remediation, they have to remove from your account. So that's essentially what credit repair specialists are doing. They're just sending out correspondence on your behalf that you could do for yourself, and it's not going to cost you whatever people charge for that service. So I think absolutely understanding what your picture looks like is the very first start. Then, if you're someone who wants to accelerate that process, I think looking into rebuilder cards or even secured credit cards are great options. So, for example, Discover has some great options for like credit rebuild types of credit, where essentially you're given a very low balance. Where you might say, maybe you might put one subscription, maybe you pay for like Spotify or Netflix or something, and just put that very small charge onto that card just to show it's like a consistent monthly amount that you will be responsible to pay, right? Maybe it's $9.99. And just getting into the habit of having that be reported as something that you're paying on time, right? By the statement closing date. Is a great way to kind of accelerate that process, or even looking into secured credit cards, maybe from your bank or your credit union, where you actually essentially give them an amount of money. Maybe that's $500 in cash, and you're kind of building up to essentially having that balance be available for you. That's also a great way to kind of accelerate the process of rebuilding your credit, because those things will both get reported as part of your overall uh, account mix. So I think those are some great ways. But then again, it really goes back to knowing what's on your credit report and then knowing what makes up a credit score, so you can make sure that you are A, paying on time, B, understanding what your utilization is, right? How much credit do you have available compared to what you actually have outstanding? And then from there, really just being on top of it in terms of paying on time and not taking out more debt than you need. What would you add, Crystal?
So I can second the secured cards, because that's how I had to actually rebuild my credit. Y'all
Okay.
don't understand the situation. I mean, I'm
Okay.
sure there was probably worse, but in my head, it was like the worst situation.
Okay.
So I had to use secured cards, and I think I had two of them.
Okay.
And I put like $300 each, so that was $600 I put forth to rebuilding my credit. And the other thing I would add is just one other trick that I used was I was spending, so like I was using it for gas and groceries. So things that I had to, like things you had to buy anyway, that you probably, so my tip, things that you had to buy anyway that you would have used your checking card for, most likely, right? Not spending
Mhm.
money you don't have. So I'm not going out and buying
Right.
TVs and things
Right.
like that. So gas, groceries, toiletries, things that I would have bought anyway, and I would not spend over 50% on my card. And then I
Mm,
would pay it down to 10% every single month. And
okay.
now with Cinneah's tip, by the statement closing date.
By the statement
So
closing date.
now look, I swear if y'all do that, I was able to, like, I think I started my process like maybe like July, and by like October, November, I was in the position to buy a house. So it happened pretty quickly. I
Wow.
jumped quickly. Yeah. Just by
Mhm.
doing that. Right.
Yes.
So
And that's why
guys,
I'm
don't
telling y'all
don't
that
despair.
those tips really accelerate the process, right? I mean, granted, you could technically use the accounts that you already have at your disposal, and just by following the tips we've already talked about, rebuild your credit. But like what Chris was saying, that's a great way to accelerate that journey, right? Say you want to buy a home, say even certain jobs don't allow you to get past a certain point in the application process if you are showing a low credit score, right? In terms of,
Right.
is this person really responsible enough for this type of work? So I think that's great. Wow, to do that in like 4 to 5 months, like, come on, y'all. By springtime, you could literally have a credit score to put you in a position to just save hundreds of dollars in interest and in fees for everything. So that's incredible.
Yeah, it was kind of like that in combination with paying down all the rest of
Mm-hmm.
my cards, right? Because I couldn't
Yes.
get any new cards, but I had to
Yes.
pay what I owed. So it was definitely like a rush to be able to buy this house. So,
Yes.
but definitely, take your time, and it does work. What we're saying works, guys. So don't despair. There is hope. Just
There is
create a
hope.
plan for yourself and stick
Yep.
to it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same vein, so now we've kind of talked about rebuilding our credit. When it
Hmm.
comes to the wealth building piece of it, what are some
Yes.
tips you would give? Crucial advice we could give to our listeners.
Crucial advice in terms of wealth building is one, we have to push past our fear of investing. I'm going to say that again. To build wealth, we have to push past our fear of investing. And this is not to like talk down to anyone, right? I mean, we've all been there. In our communities, we're not taught that investing, whether that's in real estate, investing in risk leads to rewards. We're not taught that, right? Our peers are taught that. They're taught when you make a certain amount of money, when you get your job, you're going to start investing in the stock market. We're not taught that. So we have to take it upon ourselves to push past those fears, those excuses we set in terms of, oh, well, I don't know nothing about this. So I'm not going to indulge in that, right? Because what it's doing is it is significantly keeping us away from building wealth, period. So what does that look like? For me, I think the very first step in terms of wealth building is, as we've been talking about saving for travel and other sinking funds, like what Crystal mentioned, is also starting to save for your emergency fund. Like, right? How many of us that are watching right now have enough savings if something were to happen and you were out of work for 3 months? Literally, like, I mean, if 2020 has not shown us that we need those kind of cash cushions, I don't know what will, y'all. Like, there's no security in in our 9 to 5 jobs. There's no security in corporate America. Okay. So I would say absolutely starting there is essential, right? Having at least 3 to 6 months of expenses saved in an emergency fund, and a high yield savings account. You could look into Ally Bank or Marcus by Goldman Sachs or American Express Personal Savings or Barclays. Those are all great examples of some. Oh, great. I see some people saying that's what I'm working on. Great.
Mhm.
Then from there, I would say, even if you have debt, starting to invest. And how you can do that is start with the tax advantage accounts you already have access to. So if anyone works for an employer that has an employer sponsored retirement plan, like a 401k, a 403b, start putting money into that, especially if you have a employer match. A lot of companies and employers will actually incentivize you to put a little into your retirement account by giving you a match. So maybe they'll say, okay, for every dollar you put into this up to 5% of your salary, we will give you $1. So we'll match it 1 to 1. That's a great way to start investing because literally it just requires a very little amount from your salary. You may not even realize 5% of your salary, for example, but you're getting free money. So that's a great way to double the amount of, how much money is actually working on your behalf without actually having to do a lot of work. And you can do that alongside paying off debt. I've definitely done that on my debt free journey this year. I've been consistently investing in my 401k. And, I think there's also this idea out here like, oh, why should I invest in something that's, it's not liquid, it's illiquid. I can't touch it until retirement. There are actually loopholes that allow you to be able to withdraw from your 401k and these other retirement accounts to buy other assets, right? So a friend of mine, for example, her handle on Instagram is at First Gen Money Musings. She actually took $10,000 out of her 401k to put down on a mixed use property in Philadelphia that now is generating her income so much so that she was able to put the money back into her retirement account, right? But if you never start, you don't have those options available to you. So I would say absolutely starting with the tax advantage accounts like your 401k, like looking into a Roth IRA if you already have a 401k or 403b, looking into a health savings account. If you have a healthcare plan that the deductible is like $1,500, $2,000, you qualify for a health savings account. And that is another great way. So when you take all of these things together, what's also great in addition to building wealth is that you're lowering the amount of taxes you have to pay. So that's honestly how I end up probably with a refund every year is because I invest in these tax advantage accounts. So I actually end up getting a little bit back from Uncle Sam every year because I've technically been lowering my taxable income by investing. So I would say those are great things that are, we all have access to that we can start right away.
Okay, cool. Hopefully, you guys are listening, paying attention. Um, so that you guys can take advantage of those things. The other thing I would just add is make sure you do your research, guys. Like,
Mhm.
um, you know, whatever accounts you're going to be investing in, just making sure you're doing your research, you're reading up on things, because a lot of times especially if you're at your job, you like sit at those presentations with your eyes glazed over, right? And you're
Yeah.
not really paying attention to what they're saying. You're not asking questions, and you're like, why do I have to sit through this?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's over. Be the person that asks all the questions, because I guarantee you're probably not the only one who has questions, but the more you learn about what's available to you, the more that you can take advantage of what's offered, what's available. So be the person to ask all the questions, and if an account is not working for you, look for additional options. Can't stress that enough.
Mhm.
Yes. So I do want to take it back. I'm jumping all over the place a little bit, but
It's
we're talking
okay.
about wealth building. And you talked about your course a little bit in the beginning. So, combining
Yes.
your love for finances and travel, can you maybe give us a snippet or a preview of what the course is about and how you maybe were able to save and travel where you wanted?
Yes, so super excited. I just launched my course called Fly Financially Free. It is all about how you can travel often for the low, no matter what your income is. And I was really inspired to do this because um, I felt like there just wasn't enough out there for us, right? For Black millennial women to show us examples of what it looks like to be able to live the life that you want. And for me, that's a life of traveling often, even if you have other obligations that you have to take care of with your finances, right? So in the course, it's again super affordable. It is a video course, so it'll literally just be like this, like I am talking to you, like we are homegirls, me and you in the course. It's a video course, three parts. The first part is foundation. So again, if the conversation around travel funds just went a little too fast for you, we break it down step by step on how you can get started. How do you build that foundation of saving consistently, budgeting for travel, and finding those hacks to save money, right? So I take you through some of my favorite sites for finding cheap deals because I think a lot of us focus on that piece, but there's such a bigger picture when it comes to traveling often for the low. So we'll cover that. In the second part, we talk through ways that you can kind of overcome some of the challenges that I think keep many of us from traveling, right? We don't make enough money to travel. I talk you through some clear ways I've made extra hundreds of dollars every month that I've been able to put towards travel and other things that I needed to do that don't require a lot of effort. We also talk through, a lot of us feel like, oh, I just don't have anyone to travel with. I talk you through some of the ways that you might be able to do that. If you really want to travel, how you can find those communities of other Black women who want to travel with you and want to have a great time with you, right? And then also around taking time off, because I know a lot of us have a limited amount of days that we can actually take away from work. So, how you can do that creatively without having to, just blow all your days on one trip. And then the last part, super excited because I really have not seen anything like this out there. I talk you through an introduction to travel hacking. So, for anyone who's not familiar, travel hacking is the art and science of using reward points to redeem for hotel stays, airfare, and more. And in my own experience, I've been able to travel hack to over 4 countries where I've literally paid a fraction of what it costs to actually go there. So, when you combine that with saving in a travel fund and now significantly reducing the amount of money that you have to actually put out for travels, it just really stretches how much you can do, how far you can go. And I'm telling y'all, it's not just little countries. I'm saying like Colombia, Antigua, Mexico, places that, that I've had amazing experiences in and I want you to see too. So, in that third part, we go through travel hacking and take you through that whole process of what that looks like. So, I've combined all of that into one course. And then also, I've included just a resource list because I am not going to be able to just kind of tell you everything. But what I want to do is also share different links, codes, templates that you can use to also save more money when it comes to your travel. So even things that you may not even be considering, right? So I have a script in the resource list on how you can get a refund from an airline even when they try to give you a credit, right? So I don't know if anyone's had this experience, but in 2020, so many of us, right, have flights booked that
Mhm.
things happened, right? The itinerary got changed, it got canceled. And how many of us were actually able to get our cash back? Well, that'll never happen to you again because now I've given you a whole script in the course of what you say when you're talking to those airlines to make sure that you get your cash back. And I'll say for myself, I literally had a $1,200 Delta flight booked that Delta made an itinerary change for, and I was like, I decided I didn't want to travel anymore. I didn't feel comfortable traveling anymore. And what they would have done, they would have given me a $1,200 e-credit. Hi, I'm telling y'all right now, I got that $1,200 back to my card, right? But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have this template. So I'm just so excited to share all these like hacks with all of you. I want this to be a course that everyone can benefit from, that everyone can take something from. And that's why I'm really passionate about making it as affordable as possible. So I hope many of you will take a look. You can literally find it on my Instagram. It's the link in the bio. My Instagram again is at fly.nance. And you can pre-order it today for $25. It's super affordable. And I'm so excited to share it with everyone and to get your honest feedback on it. So yeah, that's a little bit about the course, Fly Financially Free. And I'm just so passionate about putting all this information together because these are things that I've learned working in the credit industry, seeing white coworkers and the way that they were able to just like maximize things that I didn't even know were possible, right? Things from just me being really into this stuff and finding things on different blogs and just bringing it all together and really making it something that like we can relate to, right? Like that we get, that we understand, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. Hey
Awesome.
Petra, oh that's my life coach.
Awesome. Well, I definitely I'm looking forward to the course because I'm sure there's some things that I can learn as
Yes.
well. Yes. To be able to travel and, use my dollars more efficiently because I don't know
Okay,
those hacks.
period.
So I'm looking at that course too.
Yes, let's do
So
it.
what do you feel like are some of your biggest lessons learned on this journey that you've been on?
Oof. Crystal, you are. We going to church now? We going to church? I would say one of the biggest lessons I think is just that, and this is something honestly that I've really gained from being in life coaching. Like I said, my shout out to my life coach who's here, Petra. Um, is really just that so many of the things that we want for our lives are literally on the other side of our fears. They're on the other side of our anxieties and our excuses. And I will say, for me, finance was something that I thought about for years. I've had this idea probably since 2018, where I just was like, right when we kind of started off the podcast, you kind of asked me, how did this start? People were asking me that in like 2018, and I was feeling these things and feeling like, wow, I want to do this. And I was so paralyzed by fear. Oh my gosh. I felt like I'm a hypocrite if I start talking about money and my shit is not together. I feel like I'm a fraud. I feel like I'm all these things. Like, no one's going to care about this stuff. And that just kind of, it was such a disservice to me and to all of these people that I've met in this journey, right? That sometimes I look back and just wonder, where would I be if I had pushed from that point, right? It took me 2.5 years to build up the confidence and the courage to really commit to this, right? And I'm not just saying, okay, I put it out there, right? Because there were times I would put it out there and then I would get scared. And then I would come back and I wouldn't post anything. People would be like, what's happening with finance? I'd be like, I don't know. Ah. So 2020 was the first year that I really just committed to it and said, even if I feel uncomfortable, even as challenging as this year is, I'm going to just push through because what I'm seeing is that people want to hear me. They want to see me talk about these things. I'm telling y'all, I've only been doing this consistently since January. So for me to even be here sitting in your guest seat, Crystal, it is such a full circle moment for me because I think about all the time that I just like convinced myself that I wasn't worthy of this, right? So that has been one of the biggest lessons because whether it is traveling, going to places that, they don't even see women that look like us, going to places where no one in your family has ever gone before, building wealth for the first time, being a first generation wealth builder, being someone who says, I'm going to retire early, all of these things will require you to push past those fears, push past those feelings of feeling so small that we are not worthy. So I think that's the biggest thing. Hell, paying off $23,000 of debt in 1 year, you're gonna run into those moments where it's just like, who am I to do this? Like, who am I to have the audacity to do this, right? So I think that's been the biggest lesson. I think that carries through everything that I do, everything that I do in finance, and all the women that I meet that are on this journey. I think so many of us are just at a place where, we realized that to get to the life that we want, we had to push past those barriers and those mental blocks that were telling us, no, just stay where you're at. It's so comfortable, isn't it? Aren't you so safe and comfortable here? We're meant to do so much more than that. So I think that's been my biggest lesson, and it's not financial, but it's all here, and I think that's what's helped me kind of push forward and do these things.
Yep. Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself, because that's something that I preach. And I hear people I know, they're like, Crystal always says, you're worthy, you're more,
Yes.
you are destined for greatness. And honestly, that's
Yes.
the reason why I started Simply She. So, how
Yes.
appropriate is it that that is your biggest lesson learned? So,
Yes.
kudos to you. And I'm
Okay,
so
she army.
happy. Yes.
She did not pay me to do that. Okay. It's the truth. It's the truth.
It is true. You
Mhm.
never know what you can achieve once you just let go and push
Mhm.
past those mental blocks, those things that are holding you back. What you think
Yes.
people might say, they haven't even said it yet. What you think they might
Oof,
say, how you think they might look at you. It's all of it is just all here.
it's
And
all
once
there.
you just let go of that and just say, I can do it, she can do it. That's in the background.
She can do it.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So once you do that, you like even just your feeling, you'll walk different, you'll talk different,
Mm.
you'll act different, see different. Your aura will all be different.
Okay.
Once you,
You will attract different, baby, okay?
yes,
Period.
yes, yes,
Okay? You'll be
absolutely.
wondering why Daquan and them just don't it just doesn't feel right no more, okay? Because you're at a different level, okay? You leveled up, okay? And that's on
Yep.
period.
Elevated. Yes. Oh, I know they probably like, listen, what is happening right
Literally.
now? But no, tell us about what are some projects, some new projects you're working on? Any new projects you can give us a scoop on?
Yeah, so I know I talked at length about the travel course, but something I'm also really excited that I'm hosting a creating your 2021 debt freedom class on December 12th. On 12/12, it'll be an hour-long class I'm hosting on this amazing woman-owned teaching platform called Level Up. And in the class, we're going to talk for 1 hour on how you can create your debt freedom plan for next year, right? This idea that like setting these intentions now, this is literally where I was a year ago. I said, I think I can become debt free in a year. And I had no idea how I was going to do it, y'all. I had no idea. Don't want you to think like, oh, yes, I had it all planned out. I had no idea how I was going to get there at all. But I set those intentions right about now. I set those intentions and said, 2020, I'm going to just push myself to become debt free. So I want to show you all of the ways that I've paid off $23,000 of debt this year, literally all the things that I did, and give you a little bit of, humor, a little bit of insight, some affirmations along the way. So that's going to be in my next class. That's on December 12th. So I'm super excited to talk about that. And then on this topic of wealth building, I'm also going to probably do a class in January around how to become a 401k millionaire. This idea that like you can actually use these accounts that we've talked about in your wealth building journey to create $1 million retirement just in this one account, right? So I walk you through that whole process because I know a lot of us out there are just like, yeah, I have a 401k, but I don't even know what I'm invested in. I don't know what happens when I leave this job. Am I doing it right? So we're going to spend some time together to walk through that process. And I'm going to teach you how to, no matter where you work, even if you have different plans, how you can find those investments that are going to yield you the biggest returns and cost the least amount so that you too can be in a place where By the time you're 65, you got $1 million in your 401k in addition to anything else you might have. So both of those things you can definitely find by following me on Instagram. The class for the 2021 Debt Freedom class, those seats are available now. It's $25 for the class, and in that class, you get a ticket to join me live, kind of like what we're doing. It'll be on a Zoom, and then you also get an amazing digital workbook that I created that literally you can fill in, you can print out, you can save on your computer. That's going to just give you a wealth of information to carry you through your year of your debt freedom class. So definitely reach out to me on Instagram, DM me if you're interested in the class, and let's get you signed up. I have some amazing feedback from the first time I did it. And it's an intimate class. Like, it's not going to be 50 million people. It's going to be capped at 10 people. So we can really be intimate, get to know each other, and talk candidly about this stuff. Because as women, we need those spaces where we can talk about our debt and our money without feeling shame. So many of us carry the shame around our money. I know I did for so long. And in a space where, we can say, yeah, I'm scared about this, but, seeing you is inspiring me. So definitely hit me up if you want to learn more about that.
Awesome.
Yes.
And so are there any, in addition to your courses, are there any books that you've read or articles you recommend for the novice wealth builder?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sad that I don't have it next to me. I would say the number one recommendation that I have in terms of books is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I'm sure many of you have probably heard of it. It's definitely a household name. It's been a New York Times bestseller, and I see why. I read it for the first time this year with my wealth building book club, which you can also sign up for if you're curious. Um, and honestly, y'all, I learned so much. I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Look out for the second edition because that's the more recent update. And it is just such a great book. I think it's something I'm always going to turn to when I just am making money decisions. Everything from it can literally, even if you're somebody who is just like, my money is all the place, I'm a complete mess, you can learn going from step A to investing Z, all the things we talked about, being so knowledgeable about those things by the end of the book. So I can't recommend that one enough. If you're really serious about investing, I would say you should definitely follow underscore Ashley M. Fox on Instagram. She is a Black woman investor. She founded a wealth building community where she teaches people how to invest in dividends, in REITs, real estate investment trusts. And I just love seeing, like, she's just goals, it's just seeing Black women that like know what they're talking about and just like are so fabulous in doing it. It just lights my soul on fire. So I would definitely say check her out. And then also Kezia Williams at KEZIAW on Instagram. She founded the Black Upstart, and she is all about creating wealth, creating generational wealth, how we can, use collective economics to our favor, right? Even thinking about it's not just us on these journeys, but it's us and our homegirls, our cousins and them, right? Our families. How can we get them involved in this conversation so we're not doing it alone? I highly recommend checking her out. So, but I got plenty of book recommendations. If you wanna read, DM me because I have plenty of books that you can start reading, books that I've read and just taken a lot from, right? If you're someone who's learning about FIRE for the first time by seeing me talk about financial independence, retire early, Quit Like a Millionaire is a great book to read. It was written by two millennials based out of Canada on how they literally became work optional at 32, I think. And now they're living off of their multi-million dollar investment portfolio. So it's so many possibilities out here, and I think when you get exposed to these things, I think that's why I get so excited about this stuff, because it totally opens your mind to like what's possible, right? And that all of
Yeah.
these things that we were told is possible or who can benefit from them are just not true. So I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. But definitely, if you need any other resources, please DM me. I promise it's me that's answering those DMs.
Awesome. Um,
Yes.
so what I want to do now is go ahead and take some questions. We do actually have one that came in. So guys, if you haven't been typing your questions in the chat, go ahead and do that now. So if you have some questions for Cinneah, please put them in the chat. We did have one that said, does Charles Schwab require you to
Yeah.
also open a brokerage account with them in order to open a savings, I guess a savings and a checkings?
Yeah, so with the high yield checking account that we talked about for your travel fund, there will be a brokerage account attached to it, but you don't have to use it if you don't want it. I don't use that feature, but there's still a checking account component attached to it. But yeah, I mean, if you were in a position where you wanted to invest the money that you were saving, you could totally do that, but it's not a requirement to have the
Okay,
account open.
cool. All right, I'm checking to see if there's anything else.
Yes. This is such a great chat. Oh my god, we said it was gonna be 30 minutes and we talking for an hour.
Any other questions, guys?
Yes. And don't worry, if anyone's shy and you feel like you have a specific question, again, like please DM me. You can email me, contact@flynance.com. I would love to help. And even if I can't help, I would love to connect you with some of the amazing women in my network who are money coaches, who are financial advisors, who can really kind of give you that more hands on approach if that's what you're looking for. But I'm, happy to give advice or just chat or just kiki.
All right, I don't see anything coming in. So do me a favor. One more time, go ahead and drop your handles and your website and all that good stuff. Give us all the social goods.
Yes. So again, this is Cinneah of Flynance. You can follow me on Instagram at fly.nance. That's FLY.NANCED. That's really my main hub where I kind of keep up with everything. You can also check out my blog, www.flynance.com. Subscribe to my email newsletter, and then you can keep up with everything that I'm doing. Every time I'm on an amazing podcast like this, you can check it out, and be obviously the first to know when I'm coming out with those classes. Like I mentioned, the debt freedom class, the 401k millionaire class, and also my email subscribers got a special discount code to get my course for the low. Okay, I pretty much gave it away for them. So it definitely benefits being on my email list. And then yeah, I mean, I'm also on Facebook, definitely finance. I'm on every hand. I mean, on Twitter, I tweet from time to time. Wherever there's social media, you can probably find me. So, but definitely Instagram is my main place at fly.nance on Instagram. So I would love to connect with you there.
Awesome. Make sure you follow Cinneah, guys. Make sure you follow her. Get that
Yes.
dope advice. Go ahead and join her list as well.
Yes.
So for more information on how to contact Cinneah, and also to access all of her links, I will include them in the show notes for this episode
Perfect.
42. And you can check out the show notes for this episode at www.isimplyshe.com/podcast. That's www.isimplyshe.com/podcast. And lastly, guys, if you are interested in joining a collective of women dedicated to being empowered and becoming the best version of themselves, join the She Army Facebook community. And that link is also in the show notes. So, guys, this has been a really fruitful discussion.
Yes.
And I hope that you found what we shared today to be helpful. And remember, you too can conquer if you slay hard every day.
I love that. Thank you again, Crystal, and
You're
have a good
welcome.
evening.